For a Palestinian to obtain a building permit, he must go through a long and costly process, which can sometimes take up to 10 years. And sometimes the cost of the permit is more than the cost of the building itself, forcing the Palestinians to build without a permit. And when they do, the Israeli police and bulldozers are waiting.
فقت الصبح رحت على المدرسة لقيت جرافات نازلين فقلنا ابصر دار مين رح تنهد يعني ما كانش ولا إشي ولا إحساس إنه دارنا ولا إشي. فرجعت من المدرسة ولقيت هذا ابن عمي طالع بقول لي والله إنه داركم انهدت. قلت له لا شو دارنا انهدت بتمزح أنت. وأنا نازلة في الطريق قلت يا رب يكون بمزح مش تكون حقيقة. جيت لقيت عماتي وأمي وهيك كلهم قاعدين باب الدار وبيعيطوا. ما سألت قلت لها وين كتبي وين أغراضي. ضلت ساكتة ما ردتش علي.
فجأة الساعة 8 الصبح واحنا نايمين ما لقيناهم الا هاجمين علينا زي العصابة هجوم هجموا طلعوني من الدار طلعت حافي.
دخلت على الغرفة بدي أحط إشاربي على راسي وقفوا الجنود بالأوضة معي ممنوع فيش البسي إشاربك واطلعي.
מרגע ששמים צו הריסה על הבית, הבולדוזר יכול לבוא אחרי 24 שעות וגם אחרי 24 שנים.
أصير هذول غرفتين كنا عايشين فيهم 8 سنين احنا مع بعض وكنا يعني مبسوطين وسعيدين فيهم. يعني هذا البيت لما انه صغير بس كنا مبسوطين فيه وصرنا 8 سنين يعني بنقلب فيه. والله بيعلم كيف بنيناه.
الكل يقيم فينا نطلع من هون يقولوا لنا اطلعوا من هون مستحيل يجوا الاولاد. استنى الاولاد وين يجوا يلاقوها مهدومه هلا صدمه حياتهم يلاقوها مهدومه.
هدم البيوت هي عملية إعدام.
لما بزت أوعيهم برا ما فيش إلا سكن. وأنا الأصل من دير ياسين يعني سابقا لاجئ. كمان يجينا نسكن بالأجار وإسرائيل مش مخليتنا نقعد.
فهم ما بدهم ايانا نبني في البلد ولا بدهم ايانا نعيش من البلد. هذه اسمها عمليه تهجير، بدهم يهجرونا من هالبلاد.
ان شاء الله رايحين نبنوا نضل صامدين باذن الله باذن الله. لو اوضه كبيره لو خيمه لو شو ما كان راح نضل صامدين باذن الله.
הבית שלי לא רוצה לפחות, לך אחורה. זה הבית שלי, אתה לא תגיד לי ללכת, לך אחורה. זה הבית שלנו.
نحن פה בארץ שלנו, הארץ שלנו, זה הארץ שלנו. נמות, נחיה בארץ שלנו.
هذا التدمير هدم البيوت هذا ما له مبرر إلا هو التطهير عرقي.
الله ينتقم منكم الله ينتقم منكم.
يعني الحكومة الإسرائيلية عندما تدمر بيت تدمر منزل من المنازل هي إنما تريد أن تطهر عرقيا الناس الموجودة، وهذه الناس لا يمكن أن تطهر، ستبقى موجودة بأنفاسها، بدمها، بعظامها، بأولادها ستبقى.
Home demolition is one component of Israel's demographic policy that has been tasked to the Israeli Ministry of Interior. This ministry dominates every aspect of Palestinian daily life, destroying their homes, confiscating their IDs, and denying them the right to live together as a family.
إلي من 6:30 واقف يعني عشان لم شمل يا مرتي اللي 6:30 5 سنين إلها 5 سنين لحد هلأ مش شايف الجواب يعني.
Family unification is another tool used to drive Palestinians out of Jerusalem. Michelle, a Palestinian from Bethlehem, is married to Carmen, a Palestinian from Jerusalem. Carmen and Michelle are fighting to stay together as a family. A Palestinian from Jerusalem who marries a Palestinian from outside Jerusalem has to go through a process which Israel calls family unification. This involves applying to the Ministry of Interior to grant your spouse permission to live with you in Jerusalem.
حاولت أقدم له اللم الشمال من أول سنة ما تجوزنا فيها، ما أجانا رد. قدمت كمان مرة وكمان مرة، ما فيش ولا رد، لا قبول ولا رفض. ضل هذا الوضع عنا لجبت كل ولادي اللي هن الستة. طبعا هاي الفترة اللي هي بحدود 10 أو 11 سنة.
الأولاد كانوا مسجلين بهويتهم، سحبوا الأرقام والأسامي من هويتهم، أصبحوا بلا هويات.
عودت عملت وراء لم شمل لجوزي وولادي، صفى إنه مش بس جوزي كمان الأولاد.
A Palestinian from East Jerusalem marries a Palestinian from Ramallah, there's no place they can legally live together. The East Jerusalemite should not be living in Ramallah officially, and the Ramallah resident is not allowed to live inside Jerusalem.
That is not acceptable. That is not acceptable because this is part of our human rights, that everyone has the right to marry the spouse he or she finds fit and right to them.
من أكثر المشاكل بتألم صدري وبتبكيني قضية ابن جميل.
Jamil, a senior high school student, is suffering from a rare life-threatening condition. An operation is needed, and it is needed now.
رحنا على السفارة الأمريكية بالقدس، أخذنا فيزا، لكن ما قدرنا نحصل على هوية إنه يخرج من القدس لا أمريكا ولا بأي شكل.
When I look at the kids of our generation and I say, will these people allow something like this to happen to a Jewish minority in Belgium, or to a Jewish minority in America? Never in our lifetime. And allow it to happen 200 meters from my window. This corruption.
Jamil is still hoping that Israel will one day grant him an ID card to give him the opportunity to travel for medical treatment. Michelle and Carmen are still hopeful that one day their family will be united. Until then, Michelle continues to live in Bethlehem, and Carmen and the children in Jerusalem. The Christian community in Palestine made up 20% of the population in 1948. Today, it's less than 2% and is shrinking at an alarming pace.
Since 1967, the immigration was accelerated. We are worried because the recent statistics, they say that the main reason for the immigration of Christians from Jerusalem is the unstable political situation, it's the occupation, it's the difficult, economic life. So people opt to leave.
Even at Christmas time, the Christian Quarter stands as a shadow of its former self.
In one of our schools in Ramallah, we asked one of our teachers to make a survey, and we were surprised to find that 80% of our children who did not ever enter Jerusalem, who are under 12.
The occupation has forced many Palestinians to leave their country in search of a better life elsewhere. Those who choose not to join in the exodus, like Michelle and Carmen, have to pay the heavy price just to stay together. For now, Carmen's weekly trips between Jerusalem and Bethlehem will continue.
الحياة كتير صعبة، وأنا ماشية مشوار بعذاب وهلاك. كل أسبوع بروح أنا عند جوزي بس حتى أسوي حياة اجتماعية طبيعية بيني وبين جوزي وولادي. إذا أخذت الأولاد على بيت لحم مش راح يرجعوا، ما بيقدروش إنه يرجعوا.
حبايب شو بيني يا طير يا طير، روح اسألن علي وليف ومش معه، ومجروح بجروح الهوى شو بينفع، موجوع ما بيقول.
While Palestinians deal with a demographic policy that aims to contain their growth in the city, Palestinian lands are subject to wave after wave of land confiscation for settlement building, leaving the Palestinians with no room to develop or to live. For most Palestinians, land is their most significant possession and is passed on from generation to generation. Odeh inherited the family home from his father. He never got the chance to enjoy his inheritance because Israel decided to confiscate the land around his house to build a new settlement. The land that was confiscated belonged to his village, El Jib, a suburb of Jerusalem. Today, El Jib is physically separated from its confiscated lands, so for Odeh to reach his village or his house, he has to go through a checkpoint 100 meters from his front door.
الأرض من السور للسور لحد السور الثاني غاد، هاي كلها من أرضنا، أخذوها في الشارع الرئيسي. بعدين تقريبا من سنة سووا الجدار زي ما أنت شايف هون شيك، حطوا لنا بوابة، لفوا علينا على الدور، أعطونا رقم، أنت بتفوت، يعني أخوك أبوك سيدك عمك بقدرش يجي عليك على هان، يعني أنت عايش سجن هان في الدار، هاي سجن بدون سجان. هاي بنيتها عشان نتوسع أنا والعيال، طبعا جوا ما فيش عندي مطبخ، وكنت أسويها مطبخ تعرف كيف. ودوا لي عليها قرار هدم 3 مرات، 3 تباليغ ودوا لي عليها من بيت إيل، ممنوع البناء هان. مرة أول تبليغ جاء وقال لي هد لحالك، ثاني مرة قال لي هد برضه لحالك، ثالث مرة قال لي بهد لك إياها، بجي بهد لك إياها، وبتدفع كمان تكاليف، يعني أجار الجرافة، أجار التريلر اللي بتجيب الجرافة، تدفع كمان التكاليف.
In the Israeli mind, the problem is demographic. They're present as a community, a different community, which express in different ways, on daily basis, that they are different.
السلسلة هون من الصورة هذا السلسلة هاي وبرا ممنوع بس هي منطقة كأنك يعني في داخل إسرائيل جوا. طيب هون أنا قانوني ماشي الحال. هلا على السلسلة هاي من هنا وهيك مش قانوني. هلا هون أنا هيك على الحدود.
Aude's story is not unique. It is the story of the Palestinians in Jerusalem, confined, harassed, and cut from the rest of their people. In 1993, Israel instituted a closure policy on Jerusalem, prohibiting, to this day, over 3 million Palestinians from entering Jerusalem. This also happened to be the year that Israel signed the Oslo peace agreement with the Palestinians. The impact of the closure of Jerusalem has been devastating, particularly given the only specialized hospitals in Palestine are located in East Jerusalem. Palestinians outside of the city seeking medical treatment must go through an endless process to request Israeli approval to enter Jerusalem. After a long battle with the Israeli authorities, the Augusta Victoria Hospital managed to secure a bus permit to bring a group of children in need of kidney dialysis into Jerusalem. In some cases, permits were only given to the children, but not the parents. Children as young as 6 years old must make the journey 3 times a week from all over the West Bank, alone, without a mother to hold their hand.
This is what is creating anger. It is because the basics of life for the Palestinian mother is being violated. If a mother cannot wake up and with dignity, and I insist with dignity, escort her child to a dialysis session, the whole family will be an angry family. And once there is anger, you don't know how to control any political outcome.
Jerusalem is also home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Holy Sepulchre. Millions of Palestinians have been deprived of the right to worship and visit their holy places.
صار يغير دينه حتى يعبد.
After many hours of waiting at the checkpoint, hoping to make it to Jerusalem in time for Friday prayers, some were denied access because they didn't meet the imposed age requirements. This man is 4 months short of being 45. Some just gave up and decided to go back home.
I came from America just to go pray.
Some got ready to have their Friday prayers at the checkpoint. and the lucky ones made it onto the bus and were on their way to Jerusalem. The journey is not over yet. Now they have to go through another round of checkpoints in and around the old city. Some were pulled aside and were arrested for not having a permit to enter Jerusalem. Time is running out, and if you haven't reached Jerusalem by now, it's too late for this Friday.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم.
The checkpoints, along with the settlements, were created to physically cut Jerusalem from its motherland in the West Bank. The project that Israel began in 1967 has started to bear fruit. 23 settlements and 12 checkpoints exist in what Israel now calls Greater Jerusalem. Israel's objective to cut Jerusalem from the West Bank and to create irreversible facts on the ground is working. Settlements now occupy 35% of East Jerusalem's land and account for more than 70% of the growth of the Jewish population in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is indeed the front line and the heart of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. If Jerusalem is the heart of the conflict, the Old City is the heart of Jerusalem, the most fought-over square kilometre in history. Home to the Western Wall, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Dome of the Rock. Every inch of this place is holy. 65 churches, 25 mosques, and 19 synagogues in less than a square kilometre. If Jerusalem is the heart of the conflict, and the Old City the heart of Jerusalem, then this place is the heart of the matter. To the Jews, it is the Temple Mount, the site where their first and second temples stood. And it is also the site where many Jews believe the third and final temple should be rebuilt. For the Muslims, it's the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. For the last 1,500 years, Muslims have called it Haram al-Sharif, where Muhammad ascended to heaven to meet God. The battle for control over the Old City is different to the rest of Jerusalem. There is no room within the Old City walls to build a huge settlement to play with its demography. So the battle here is over the existing homes of Palestinian Christians and Muslims. Ataret Kohanim is a leading settler organization. Its main objective is to change the demographic makeup of the old city by repossessing homes from Palestinians. These homes, marked by Israeli flags, can easily be spotted. The settlers are infiltrating the Muslim and Christian quarters, although not a single Muslim or Christian family is allowed to live in the Jewish quarter. The Palestinians are aware of Ataret Kohanim's intentions, but the settlers have very powerful allies on their side, including the Israeli government, along with substantial funds from right-wing Christian groups in the US. In 1987, the settlers recruited a powerful neighbor, Ariel Sharon, who repossessed a house in the Muslim quarter. Sharon has never spent a night in this house, but has left no doubt about his support for the settlers. The settlers are indeed powerful and connected, and every year they get the chance to parade their power when they march in Jerusalem to celebrate what they call the unification of Jerusalem. This year, they are celebrating their 40th anniversary. Ironically, this is the day when Jerusalem looks as divided as ever. A massive police presence floods the city so that the settlers can march in and around the old city. The old city is shut down and the Palestinians are kept under curfew. No one is allowed to enter or leave until the march is over.
There are glass walls between the two communities. We do not have the same education system, we don't have the same transportation system, we don't share the same language, we don't work at the same places. The two communities have separate city centers, business centers, services. Almost everything is divided.
The Israeli demographic policy has brought nothing but misery and despair to the Palestinians and a sense of insecurity to the Israelis. After 40 years, Israel and its settler organizations are losing the war of demography, especially where it matters most, the Old City. The population of the Old City is 35,000, of which Palestinians make up over 90%. The Palestinian high birth rate has kept the Palestinian population growing. They have been squeezed into every available space, but they are not leaving Jerusalem. And according to Jerusalem municipality figures, in a little over 20 years, Palestinians will make up 50% of the city's population. At the same time, Jewish population growth keeps declining. For the last 20 years, more Jews have left the city than have entered it. For secular Jews, Jerusalem is a tense, intolerant, poor, overly religious, and divided city.
We left it already. So many people are voting by their legs and foots. They simply walk out of the city.
The Palestinian demographic growth has been a problem for Israel from day one. Israeli politicians openly describe it as a biological bomb, growth cancer, and fertility weapon. So what do? They build a wall, a 9-meter high wall that segregates the city's neighborhoods based on ethnic and religious grounds, which pushes a quarter of the Palestinian population in Jerusalem outside the city.
The amazing thing about this part of the wall here is that this road in front of us, right here, was the main road that used to run from Jerusalem over on this side through to Jericho. And for hundreds and hundreds of years, this was the main road. And now, that wall runs right through the middle of that road, and people can't go down to Jericho or come up or go back down to Jericho.
If you ask Israel what's the wisdom of building such a wall, they'll tell you it's for security. In recent years, militant Palestinian groups have sent 38 suicide bombers to West Jerusalem, claiming the lives of 171 Israelis. Jerusalem has at times looked confused, bloody, and ugly. Watching the path of the wall leaves you with great doubt about any security logic. Its snaking path around the city incorporates Jewish settlements and pushes out populated Palestinian neighborhoods, clearly exposing its real goal: to seal and solidify Israel's grip on the city and separate it completely from the rest of the West Bank, signaling to the Palestinians that Jerusalem is off the negotiation table.
This is the building over here. It was meant to be the Palestinian Parliament building, and it had a view over Jerusalem, and now the wall runs right in front of it. It never got finished. It's kind of a symbol of a state that's almost got stuck or got arrested. It was never allowed to develop.
عندما عرضت على الرئيس بوش الخرائط الخاصة بهذا الجدار استشاط غضبا وألقى بالأوراق والخرائط التي أعطيتها إليه إلى نائبه تشيني وقال له لم يعد هناك دولة فلسطينية مستقلة كما أدعو أنا.
I think the wall is a problem, and I've discussed this with Ariel Sharon. It is very difficult to develop confidence between the Palestinians and the Israel with a wall snaking through the West Bank.
The wall is a way to turn their back to the Palestinians. The whole thing, the concept of the wall, is an attempt to convert the Israeli-Palestinian conflict into a border dispute. One manifestation is Gaza, the other one is the war. Turn their back, couldn't care less what happened in the others, which is a change, revolutionary change in the perception of the Palestinians by the Israelis. Don't underestimate that. Because before they just discarded the whole thing. Palestinians are not important. They are manageable. Now they know they are not manageable. So they created a border, a fence, and throwing the Palestinians to the other side of the fence.
The Israeli conquest of East Jerusalem and the policies that followed to change the status of the city has been condemned by almost everyone in the world. Not a single country recognizes the Israeli occupation and annexation of East Jerusalem. Not a single country has its embassy in Jerusalem. And countless United Nations resolutions have been issued that condemn Israeli policies and tactics. Not a single one has been respected or implemented. Between Israel's disregard for international law and the reluctance of the international community to intervene in a meaningful way, the Holy Land continues to boil and bleed. The passion for the soil and stones of Jerusalem has captured its peoples and thrown them into a spin of violence, discrimination, oppression, and occupation. What is left is a sad and tense city. A city that is united in name, but divided in the hearts and minds of its peoples. When the stones of Jerusalem become holier than its people, then doesn't Jerusalem lose its holiness? There is no shortage of solutions for sharing Jerusalem in a way that saves its people and preserves its holiness, but there is a shortage of will to end the occupation and respect each other's ties to the land. Permitting a racist demographic policy that denies Palestinians of the right to live in their own homes will not put anyone on the path to peace. Ending the illegal occupation will.
لأجلك يا مدينة الصلاة أصلي لأجلك يا بهية المساكن يا زهرة المدائن يا قدس يا قدس يا قدس يا مدينة الصلاة أصلي عيوننا إليك ترحل كل يوم ترحل كل يوم تدور في أروقة المعابد تعانق الكنائس القديمة وتمسح الحزن عن المساجد عيوننا إليك ترحل كل يوم ترحل كل يوم تدور في أروقة المعابد تعانق الكنائس القديمة وتمسح الحزن عن المساجد يا ليلة الإسراء يا درب من مروا إلى السماء